Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and, frankly, disturbing dynamics in psychology, the phenomenon of mirroring in narcissistic personality disorder. It's a really complex process that gets right to the heart of what it even means to have an identity. Okay, let's get into it.
Just think about this for a second. Have you ever been in a relationship or a friendship where the other person started picking up your phrases, your hobbies, your way of dressing, almost overnight? It might feel flattering at first, but then it starts to feel a little bit off, right? That experience is at the core of what we're going to break down today. So here's our roadmap. We'll start by defining what mirroring is in this context. Then we'll dig into its psychological roots, see how it actually shows up in real life, understand the internal chaos it causes, and finally, look at the profound impact it has on relationships. All right, let's get right to it. What exactly is mirroring? Well, it's so much more than just simple imitation. It's a fundamental strategy for someone who lacks a stable sense of self. The key thing that sets this apart from the natural way we all influence each other is that it's systematic. It stems from a lack of a cohesive identity. It's a deliberate, though often unconscious process of absorbing someone else's traits to fill an internal void and get that constant external validation. And this chart really helps draw a clear line between healthy influence and pathological mirroring. See, in a healthy dynamic, influence is a two-way street. It's gradual, and it strengthens who you are. But here, we're talking about a rapid, one-sided takeover. The goal isn't to find common ground, it's to replace a non-existent identity with a borrowed one, which is, at its core, a strategy of manipulation. To really understand this, we have to look deeper into the psychological theories that explain where this comes from. I mean, why does this behavior develop in the first place? The psychologist Kohut gives us a crucial piece of the puzzle. He theorized that as kids, we need our caregivers to act as an emotional mirror, to reflect our feelings back to us in a stable, consistent way. When this empathetic mirroring fails, the child can't internalize a sense of self-worth and build a solid self. Without that internal structure, they grow up needing to find that mirror in other people just to feel real and validated.
Building on that, Kohut and Kernberg, in his work on personality organizations, described the result of this as a fragmented self. Instead of a solid core, the identity is like a collection of broken pieces. Without that authentic center, the individual becomes dependent on the validation of others, on their gaze, to feel real and whole. So to cope, they build a temporary self out of the fragments they absorb from people they admire.
So, how does this deep psychological need actually manifest in the real world? This is where the whole chameleon analogy really comes to life.
One of the most common examples is a sudden, dramatic lifestyle change. An individual might meet a partner who is a passionate vegan, and almost overnight they become an expert on nutrition and animal rights. But the second that relationship ends, that entire identity is just dropped. It was never a genuine conviction, it was instrumental.
And this extends to core beliefs. You might see someone passionately arguing for one political ideology, only to find them arguing the complete opposite a few months later after they've joined a new social circle. There's no internal consistency. It's a chameleon-like adaptation to whatever environment offers the most prestige and social capital at that moment.
And maybe the most visible form of mirroring is the direct copying of vocabulary, clothing style, and hobbies. At first, this creates this powerful illusion of synergy, a sense of, wow, we're so alike. But eventually, the sheer extent of the copying becomes unsettling, and it reveals this profound lack of authenticity. So, what is the internal experience of living this way? While the external performance might be convincing, the internal consequence is a state of chronic and painful confusion.
And this brings us to a fundamental paradox. On the outside, the person presents a social mask, a temporary identity built from others that can look complete, even impressive. But on the inside, especially when they're alone, there's a profound internal emptiness, a feeling of non-existence and instability.
This helps us reframe what might look like an exciting life of reinvention. The constant career changes or lifestyle shifts aren't always driven by curiosity or growth. Instead, they can be part of a desperate cycle. Find a new mirror to build a new identity from just to keep that internal emptiness at bay.
Finally, let's focus on the devastating impact this dynamic has on the people involved. What happens when you realize that the person you thought was your soulmate is actually just your echo?
The experience for a partner or friend typically follows this three-stage journey. It starts with an intoxicating feeling that you found the perfect match. Then, as the mirror's behavior abruptly changes with new influences, perplexity and doubt set in. Finally, there's this deeply painful realization.
The feeling that your own personality has been copied, used, and, in a sense, stolen.
This feeling of being emptied out is a profound form of psychological violation. It's the sense that the very things that make you unique, your expressions, tastes, and ideas, were taken and instrumentalized. It's a disorienting and deeply damaging experience.
So, what's the bottom line here? For the individual with NPD, it leads to a life of continuous dependency and illusion. For the victim, it causes immense suffering and a sense of being used. And from a clinical perspective, understanding this pattern is absolutely critical for an accurate diagnosis and for helping victims make sense of their experience. It wasn't real affinity, it was a manipulation technique.
And this leaves us with one last broader question to reflect on. We all absorb influences from those around us. That's part of being human. But this exploration of pathological mirroring forces us to ask, in a world of infinite reflections, what is the core that makes each of us truly and authentically ourselves?